up, you guys? Welcome back. All right, so today we're talking about a really big topic. Why do you attract people or partners who reject you? This one's so big I gotta put my glasses on right away for the notes. Let me just clean them. You know, this is huge. Why would this be happening? And when I say rejection, I don't just mean like unreciprocated love or someone dumping you or someone just not accepting you the way that you are. In this case, rejection can also be more subtle. So yeah, if you're single, this can show up as getting chronically ghosted. It could be like you're magnetically attracted to or even obsessed with people who don't share mutual feelings with you. Maybe they've got zero interest in a committed relationship with you. They might always want to keep it casual, or maybe they've got one foot out the door. Maybe they're already in a relationship, or maybe they're literally ignoring you, but you're just obsessing about them. Okay, that's one. It's limerence, you know, you can look that up. That's one way this could show up. Or it could be more subtle. Like, let's say that you're in a relationship. This could look like things, for example, like your partner disengaging emotionally or mentally when you're having to challenge yourself, or when you're having a difficult conversation, or, you know, when you express what's on your heart. It could be your partner shutting down or threatening to walk away from the relationship every single time that you have an argument. Or it's like you get the sense that when tension or conflict arises, they've always got one foot out the door. Or they just withdraw their love when you're being vulnerable. I mean, this could even show up as like punishing behavior. So that could look like the silent treatment. It could look like stonewalling, just becoming a rock when you want to have a vulnerable chat. Maybe to get their way or to prove a point, they refuse things like intimacy, they withhold affection, they withhold sex. It could even be like passive-aggressive behaviors when conflict arises. So, do you know what I mean? This can show up in a lot of ways, and you could perceive all of these and more as quote-unquote rejection, depending on life experience, your own self-concept, your inner narrative, like even subconscious beliefs that you might not even be aware of about love, you know? So rejection and abandonment comes in many forms, and I do want to say that there is nuance here, because like how you express your vulnerability, for example, or how you approach a difficult conversation, especially if this is a pattern for you, does make a difference. Because when you're not doing these things rooted in radical personal responsibility, like if you're blaming, if you're shaming, if you're not taking any accountability, that is already setting a completely different tone. So it might be something as not simple, but it is kind of simple in a way. It might be cleaning that up that's going to change this pattern. It's not always that the other person is the wrong person or that you're in the wrong relationship. Everything starts with you. So, and let's start there. I'll weave in a little Buddhism here. You know, relationships, no matter which relationship it is, they're all a mirror. So you'd only be experiencing repeated rejection if somehow, in some capacity, you're rejecting or abandoning yourself or some part of you. But this can be, like I said, very sneaky, very quiet, very subtle. Also, you know, in Buddhism, right, you're only ever experiencing your own karma, which in definition for them is movement of your mind and what follows, and that your reality is coming from you, not at you. This is good news, because if it's not coming at you, it's actually a projection of your own mind and karma. That's good. It can change for the better. That's why, you know, in Buddhism we have different meditations that we use like as antidotes for this. But often what lies at the core of attracting partners who reject or abandon you is a subconscious, like a hidden belief that you always get rejected or abandoned by those you love or who love you. That's tricky, right? You're like, but if they love me, why do they leave me? If they love me, why are they rejecting me? So this could have a root in your childhood, right? It could be some literal abandonment, like a parent left, somebody passed away, a divorce, something, or somebody struggled with addiction, like somebody wasn't present. It could be that. It could be really critical parents, like who were constantly criticizing you, or you could never do anything right, or it was never good enough, you know? But it's not always your childhood. I mean, most of the time, let's be real, most of the time it is something back there. But it could also be something more profound that happened as you got older. So this could be, you know, like I said, getting ghosted all the time when you start to date, or a partner cheating on you, or some other like big loss that might not even be romantic, but some big abandonment wound where you're like afraid now that the people that you love are going to leave. So if you believe at a deeper level that you're not worthy of someone accepting you and loving you exactly the way that you are, then there is a high chance that you're going to attract people who mirror this back to you in some capacity, right? And so, again, everything is a mirror. I always remind myself, if you're willing to, if that feels true to you, that your world is a mirror, and it feels true to you that you are at the root of every pattern you're experiencing, again, that's an empowerment, because if you're at the root of it and it's coming from you, it can change for the better. Right there, you've taken back your power. Like in that place, you can create the changes that you desire. But if you're not willing to accept those two truths, it's very difficult to change, you know, because then you feel like a victim. You feel like it's happening at you and that you have no control over this, but you do. So the first step, honestly, to breaking the cycle is to notice all the ways that you're currently, like, forget about the other person. Don't even go there yet. Start with you. Really notice and even make a list on paper of all of the ways that you're currently ignoring your own needs. And I'm going to list some things here. So how exactly do you need to start showing up for yourself and honoring your truth and honoring or making boundaries? For example, like, where are you saying yes when your deeper truth is that you need to say no to something or someone? Or where do you overextend yourself and keep giving and giving and giving, even if it leaves you feeling resentful because you're not giving to yourself? How are you compromising your values or your integrity? And you'll know when you're compromising your integrity or your values because these are the places where you're going to feel bitter, angry, guilty, ashamed. Notice those places. Like if a value of yours is honesty, and that's a very high value, where are you lying to yourself? How are you denying the truth to yourself? It's like being with a person and the red flags keep appearing, over and over and over again. The person there's infidelity over and over, or you notice that the person lies to you again and again, but it's like you don't want to see it. So you tell yourself a different story. And then you're going to start to feel really frustrated or angry, right? Notice where you don't tell yourself the truth. Or it could be something totally different. It might not even be in your romantic world, although most likely it is, but maybe it isn't. So really start to take inventory. Or how are you putting your needs, emotional needs, physical needs, spiritual needs on the back burner, even if it's making you feel worthless, it's making you bitter. It's like, where are you trying to meet other people's needs or this partner's need regardless of how you're feeling? Or what emotions are you still trying to avoid? How are you avoiding them? How are you escaping or ignoring these difficult emotions instead of creating space, like sacred or safe space, to actually feel stuff and process it? Like, do you start doom scrolling on social media? Do you start eating junk food? Do you numb out and escape with alcohol, drugs, spending money mindlessly? There's a lot of ways that we can numb out and escape. So what emotions are you still trying to avoid? Like, this is the first place. You've got to take inventory. Like I said, forget about what the other person is doing momentarily, and really, you got to turn inward. Because again, if it's coming from you, that's where you need to start. But again, it's like, yeah, tell the truth to yourself, make boundaries. The real deeper truth is that most people who have this limiting belief around rejection, that people who I love reject and abandon me, like, you're going to do everything in your power to not be rejected and abandoned, even if it means ignoring your truth, not saying what you need to say, denying your own needs, etc. Right? So it becomes this like loop, this place where this wound just keeps festering and you keep perpetuating the same energy again and again. It's like I said, continuing to date the people that ghost you, or pursue the person that said they're not interested in a relationship, or be with a person who, withdraws every time that there's conflict, but then you're like, refuse to deal with the situation or make a boundary or say something that you actually finally need to say because the person might walk out the door, but it's like you don't want to deal with that. So because this runs so deep, the real transformation with this pattern especially, and I talked about this also in the video that I did on hot and cold behavior, because because this is intrinsically linked. The place where I see people get the most stuck for the longest periods of time often or almost always revolves around abandonment. Because again, this is such a universal theme. So the real transformation here usually doesn't happen until you are so truly finished on every level imaginable with feeling like shit, when the suffering is so acute that you literally can't ignore it any longer. That's typically when you start to change this pattern. I don't know what that's going to look like for you specifically. I know that we all have a different breaking point. This is like a person who's like, it's different, but like, let's say that you have an addiction and you just, you see people when they go through these interventions, but like the person with the addiction has to be so done. Like it's usually rock bottom and then some, because the abandonment wound is so big for people. So the good sign is when you're absolutely sick of it. The good sign is when you're like, oh my God, I cannot be ghosted one more time. I cannot. Like I have a friend who was on dating apps and they were getting a little bit frantic about finding someone because they felt like they were running out of time. And, they were just constantly attracting unavailable people, like emotionally unavailable, bad fits. They weren't even vibing with the person, but they went on the date anyway. It was coming from like fear and desperation almost. And at some point after like the millionth time of getting ghosted by people that they were feeling a little bit invested in, it happened like several in a row of people that actually seemed like a good fit at first, and then just it was like it finally cut too deep, and they were like, you know what, I'm just getting off. After like 5 or 6 years, it was like, I'm finally getting off these apps. If it's meant to be, it's going to be, but first I'm going to work on becoming more available. Because if I keep attracting unavailable people, emotionally unavailable, they're not ready for a real relationship, they don't like me the same way, there's something going on with me. So that person took themselves off the app, and although they're not in a relationship yet, they're getting a lot of attention now simply by being themselves out in the street, making eye contact, being more open and receptive is changing the whole vibration. And they're not attracting those people that ghost anymore. So do you know what I mean? Start with baby steps, but the point is you need to be so fucking sick of it. You do. Or like I said, you need to hit your personal rock bottom. For me, it looked different too. You know what I mean? I don't know, we all have that point where it's like, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. But again, that's a great sign. Because when you're so sick of something, that's when you're going to be able to use that like anger or disgust almost, as it might be, as fuel, as the motivation to purify this pattern, to actually alchemize it, to stop repeating it. Again, if you're feeling a little disgusted with it, it might bring up some shame, so you might have to work through some layers, right? But that's okay. Change requires being courageous. You have to be brave. You have to be persistent and consistent. And this requires really deep devotion. That's why I'm like, conscious relationship is not for everybody. I wish it were, because the world would be such a better place, but not everyone's going to have this motivation. It's like being Buddhist. Like, not everybody has that motivation. They don't care. And that's fine. It's not for everybody. And this isn't either, but it's for me. I'm here to serve you guys. And same with union, like you can start practicing conscious relating with platonic connections in your world, friends, family, colleagues, whatever. And then if you want to be in union, then you got to take it to another level and be with someone who's mirroring you all the time and you're not running away. You've got both feet in. So you only lack, the devotion and the motivation to change this if you're not truly done feeling rejected. If you're not truly sick of being abandoned, if you're not fully aware of the suffering that you're perpetuating by participating in this, co-creating it with these people, if you're not aware yet of how this is truly limiting your ability to be in deep connection with people, to experience deep intimacy and unconditional love, you've got to be there. You've got to be like, hey, I'm done. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't slide back a few times. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Healing is a spiral. It's not a straight line. It's not linear. So there's no rules here. It's just like you have to be done. Like an addict. It's like, I'm not drinking anymore. Basta. And because maybe there's a lot of damage maybe there's a lot of collateral damage around, and you're just like, I don't want to create this suffering for myself and also for all the people around me that love me. So you know, you got to take radical responsibility, and there needs to be a deep intention as to why this is necessary to break the cycle for good. And I do want to say, not every relationship is a throwaway. You know, if you're experiencing rejection in a connection, whether it's somebody that you're dating more casually or it's somebody that you're in a partnership with, in some cases, obviously not all cases, but in some cases, you can absolutely repair this. You can. You can stop experiencing rejection with that same person. But like I said, it's going to take your willingness to do some very deep self-inquiry and also shift your own behavior first. Like, it starts with you. And with devotion, with patience, you know, it doesn't always happen overnight, although you'd be shocked and amazed how quickly some of this can transform if you're serious about breaking this pattern. But sometimes it takes some time. And sometimes other people aren't going to be ready. And so in that case, the relationship might have to be severed momentarily, temporarily, or permanently. It totally depends on the context of what's going on in your life, you know? But if you start to shift these things within yourself, it is extremely likely that your reality is going to follow suit fairly quickly and start to mirror back your new beliefs, your new behavior, and your new projections. Like, if you want more unconditional love and acceptance and you want people to stay, then you need to do those things. You need to plant those seeds in your mind of you doing, acting, saying the things in mind, body, speech. That's how you create new karma. So if you want people to stay in your world, you need to stay with difficult things or with challenges, or you need to stay with yourself. Not challenging things that are damaging to you ultimately. I mean, you need to be able to sit in the discomfort. You need to be able to be with stuff and go all in on it. You know, you need to be committed. It's the only way that we experience it out there. So you might need to start. You've got to practice where you're at. You know, you give what you get, but if you're feeling empty, then it is very difficult to give to others in a way that feels generous and compassionate. Like, you've got to start where you're at. So if you are depleted and you've been ignoring yourself and you've been abandoning yourself, then it's really important that you start with you. Start to give yourself the time and compassion and energy that you want to, you know, get from other people. And when your cup is full, it's going to feel natural to want to give to other people because you'll be giving from overflow. It's like the cup is flowing over and it's a natural extension of your energy. In that case, like, I don't do videos, serve my clients, show up for sessions or anything else if I'm feeling drained, but it's a priority to take care of myself. So my self-care and things is my daily rituals, because I know that I can't truly be of service. I can, but the quality of service is going to be so much higher when I feel clean and clear, right? And I feel grounded and I feel taken care of. You don't want to be giving from bitterness and exhaustion and resentment if you can help it, right? So yeah, the real question is, are you done? Like, because when you're truly done with this in your heart and soul, and you're willing to go all in and devote yourself to love, to your highest values, to your truth, when you're willing to give this the attention and the focus that it deserves, that's when it will change. So the ways that I mean, I love helping people with this because I experience this and I don't experience it like I used to at all. And it is so empowering when you see your world change, and where people used to ignore you, they're coming towards you. Where people used to blow you off, they're actually offering support. Where people used to shut down, they're ready to have a heart-to-heart. It is amazing, you guys, with people that you might have written off and been like, they'll never change. But it's like, you need to change. So this is how I can support you. One, you can book a 90-minute intuitive session. We can just go right into it, get you personalized guidance depending on what's going on in your world right now, your unique situation. And I send you follow-up resources. So I send you an email with like a couple of guided meditations or things that are relevant to whatever it is that you're experiencing after we're done. That way you keep the momentum going. Because I'm not a one and done. You know what I mean? I want you guys to keep transforming, and some of this stuff you're going to have to practice on your own. And if you're a woman, this is important, I've got the waitlist open to Magdalene Mysteries, which is a year-long journey. And the core focuses of this journey are deep intimacy and spiritual practice. It's for women on the path of union. And it's not just about romantic partnership, but we are going to be talking about conscious relationship and partnership in the year, you know, in the program. And I've got some themes for the months listed on the page, so you can go check out all the details. But being committed and devoted in a space like this is so essential to breaking the cycle of abandonment and rejection, because you're actually choosing to show up for yourself every day. And you just go one baby step at a time. Small steps lead to big progress. Little steps create the momentum that eventually gets faster and stronger. But it's like you're just planting seeds. You just start to show up and create the conditions for the changes to happen. And we have time, because you can't rush this, but I don't want to rush it. Like, you can't rush your own awakening. You can't rush transformation or realizations. Some of them will happen quickly. Some of these, old habits die hard. Some of them you're going to have to be really persistent with. And abandonment, you've got to be pretty persistent with this one. So the waitlist is open. Applications will open depending on interest, probably at the end of November. So you definitely want to get on the waitlist now, because I'm gauging how much interest, because the group is limited to maximum 8 to 10 women, max. So once applications open later this year, that's when spaces will start to fill up. And it'll just be first come, first serve. So this is how I started healing this. I joined a women's group for a year back in 2020, and that was where I really got serious about not abandoning my needs anymore. And I just started slow. And before that year was up, I had a quantum leap, and then it just kept coming. So it was like, you just need to start with a step, and you've got to be devoted, So check that out at the link below. I've got all the links below, anything else that I'm offering. But those are the two main ways that I can serve you. I also offer long-term mentorship for like 6 or 12 months, called Devotion, literally. Otherwise, that's it, you guys. I will see you in the next one. If you've got questions or feedback, just drop it in the chat. I love to read your comments. I love to respond to you guys here. And I will see you soon. Love ya.